Hey, welcome to another class of Tuesday Night Beer School starring me, Chad, of Chad's Beer Reviews. And we got a special guest, Ryan,
Hey, how's
from
it going?
the old BeerTube
Old
days.
beer tube days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say I was maybe third wave. You were like first wave, and then there's
Mhm.
like another group, and then I kind of came behind that second wave, I feel like.
Yeah. You were part of Chris's Beer Geek Nation
Yeah,
network or
got
whatever.
kind of got involved with him. Yeah, doing beer reviews, doing homebrew videos, doing some travel stuff
Mhm.
around San Diego County.
Yeah. For those that aren't familiar with you, Ryan is, well, you're not a professional brewer, but I mean, you've been homebrewing for what, like 10, 15 years now?
I
Maybe
started in
longer?
'08.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a
15.
while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you actually won a homebrew competition through Stone, and they actually mass produced your. It was a coconut IPA. I remember loving that beer, but I remember not getting a lot of coconut on it.
Yeah, yeah, that was unfortunately, yeah, the Stone version didn't live up to the homebrew version. But yeah, actually, in 2023 here, it's going to be the 10-year anniversary of that beer coming out. So
Hmm.
can't believe it.
Yeah, and Ryan's wearing the Padres hat because he's in San Diego. You know,
Yep.
um, not BJCP certified, but I'm sure he knows all the science, all in and out, and is a master home brewer, and he's got medals and trophies and stuff, and are lined up all over. If I still have some of my homebrew club, and like here's like a medal I won a few years ago.
Yeah,
So
I actually had everything in a box, and then I finally I was like, wait, I have this display, so I put everything in the display, so you can actually see it now.
I asked Ryan to join me for for this class. We're doing 25C Belgian Golden Strong Ale, and we're doing it. I don't know if you pronounce it Duvel or Duvel. I always say
I
Duvel.
I always say Duvel.
Yeah. All right, so let's go over the overall impression, all that stuff before we get started. All right, so overall impression: a very pale, highly attenuated, strong Belgian ale that is more fruity and hoppy than spicy, complex and delicate. Then the dry finish, light body, and high carbonation accentuate the yeast and hop character. Sparkling carbonation, effervescent, forming a rocky white head. And let's go down to the comments and all that stuff. It's actually pretty short considering the style. References to the devil are included in the names of many commercial examples of the style, referring to the potent alcoholic strength as a tribute to the original example, Duvel, which we're drinking, traditionally bottled condition. History developed by the 𝗏𝗏𝗏 brewery after World War I as a response to the growing popularity of Pilsner beers. Originally a darker beer, it achieved its modern form by the 1970s. Characteristic ingredients: Pilsner malt with substantial sugary adjuncts, continental hops, fruity Belgian yeast, fairly soft water, spicing not traditional. Style comparison: often confused with Belgian Tripel, but is usually paler, lighter bodied, crisper, and drier. Tends to use yeast that favor ester development, particularly palm fruit, over spiciness in the balance, and has more of a late hop character. And here's our vitals: 22 to 35 SRM, or sorry, IBUs, 3 to 6 SRM, so light colored beer. Gravity, usually ABV 7.5 to 10.5, so pretty strong beer. Um, Ryan, have you ever brewed a Belgian Golden Strong?
I have not. It's this is what's kind of interesting about me joining this review. It's not my favorite style, so
Hmm.
it would be fun to revisit this. But no, I've
Yeah.
always stuck on the lighter side of Belgians. The Belgian Pale Ale is a favorite of mine. Some Belgian Blondes
Hmm.
and Saison. I haven't really dove
Yeah.
into the higher alcohol, lighter side of Belgian beers, but I do like doubles and quads a lot, and the dark
Yeah.
strongs.
Like the blonde, like Leffe, and then like the pale ale, and well, Saison obviously, and the triple is like one of my favorites. Actually, of all the Belgian beers, I like the golder color ones better.
Okay.
I'm actually kind of over quads, yeah, at this point. Because like
Yeah.
with the quads, it's like that Belgian candy syrup is accounting for most of the flavor there. It's like kind of a cheat.
Yeah, and one another style I just thought of was grisette, which I'm seeing a few more made these days, which is
Yeah.
like even lighter saison with like a heavy like oat character, and those
Mhm.
are kind of like the more sessionable, lighter
Yeah.
style Belgian beers. But yeah, I'm looking forward to revisiting this. I've had some of the variations, like they do the green, which is a lighter alcohol
Mhm.
version, and then they've done some single hop experiments. So looking forward to getting back to the classic.
I just checked my Untapped on my phone, and I haven't had this beer since May of 2018. So yeah, it's been a while. All right, so we're gonna take a quick break, pour our beers, and we'll jump right back in with aroma. All right, so we got our Duvels poured here, but when you're judging beer, you always start with aroma, not appearance. So let's give it a whiff. I get, it's funny. It's like almost like a little skunky, but I know that's like the continental hops. It's like almost like a spicy aroma.
Yeah, I'm getting like a decent amount of like banana bread, and you get some of those alcohol esters that get into the just fruity, not sort of specific fruit, but just that general estery fruitiness.
Yeah, I
Maybe
would
some
describe it.
pear.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's like green fruit. It's like green pear. I almost want to say green apple, but that's usually a bad sign. Usually acetaldehyde, but it's not like Budweiser. It's like green pear or green grape. I also get like some lemon peel almost. That
Yeah,
seems
I
like
think,
slightly citrusy to me.
yeah, lemon for sure, or lemongrass even. That grassier floral kind of note that you kind of would get from, fresh coriander.
Yeah, and yeah, almost like a coriander, but not. I think it's just a general estery character from the Belgian yeast, obviously.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of an underlying, pilsnery breadiness, but I think my understanding is, I mean, they're using like roughly like 20% sugar for the grist on this beer, so it's not going to be heavily malt influenced.
It's interesting because like we get this huge frothy head, but I don't think that they use wheat in here. I mean, it says characteristic ingredients: Pilsner malt with substantial sugary adjuncts, continental hops. It doesn't mention wheat.
Yeah,
So
I think they're using Saaz hops, so that's definitely gives you that. Maybe that's where that kind of lemony, coriander, floral things coming from as well.
yeah, let's check the specs. All right, so aroma: a complex bouquet of fruity esters, herbal hops, and peppery alcohol over a nearly neutral malt base. That's something I was gonna say. Like, like I'm not getting wheat, or I mean, maybe you get like straight up Pilsner here, but yeah, I would agree with that. The esters are moderate to high. I would agree with that. I'd probably put it high. Often palm fruit, especially pear. Yep. Hops are herbal, floral, or spicy, low to moderate. Alcohol and phenols often have a peppery or perfumey quality, low to moderate. Alcohol perception should be soft, not hot or solvency. Nearly neutral malt. They said that twice. Possibly slightly grainy sweet. I think they needed to do a they should have hired me to do like a final edit on this one. But yeah, I would agree with everything on there. Yeah, I would say peppery.
Little pepper, yeah, definitely perfumey. That kind of stood out to me. Yeah, it does have like a general
Moderate.
perfuminess to it.
I don't. To me, it doesn't smell boozy at all.
I feel like some smells I get a little bit of.
This
Yeah,
is.
it's not like a heat or general alcohol. It's that higher alcohol ester kind of note.
By the way, this is 8.5 ABV. So I mean, it's strong, but it's not like super duper strong. So as far as score on this one, I mean, I feel like I could give it a 12 right out the gate. I don't usually give, except for appearance, I don't usually give stuff like the highest right out of the gate. Like if I'm coming back, I'm not sure how you judge, but I would go 10 or 11 on aroma here. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm gonna start with 10.
Yeah, I'm kind of on that 10, 11 range for sure.
So for appearance, it's kind of a surprisingly light. They said SRM like what was it, 2 to 3 or something? Yeah, it's like
3 to 6 or something like
yeah,
that.
it's pretty light. Yeah, so I'd call that yellow, gold.
Yeah.
Obviously huge, white, frothy, foamy head, almost like marshmallow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can see there's kind of like a, my lighting's not great, but yeah, there's big like rocky kind of fluff out right on top.
Yeah, it's good looking
So
beer.
yeah, mine's like slightly hazy. It is bottle conditioned. I just picked
Yeah,
it up at the store and I traveled home with me today, so that might
I
have
think a
kicked up a little
little.
bit.
Yeah, I think a little haze is acceptable. Let's see what the specs say. Appearance pale yellow to golden color. I would agree with that. It says good clarity. Effervescent, massive, long-lasting, rocky white head, resulting in characteristic Belgian lace on the glass that it fades. Yeah, that's interesting though that it says good clarity. I mean, I would consider that. It depends what you just describe as good, but I mean, it's not brilliant clarity, but to
No,
me, it's
it's
just
not
like a
brilliant.
little.
Yeah, I mean, you can't read a newspaper through it. Let's put it that way. It's not that clear.
But I don't see. I mean, it could just be the. I mean, it could just be chill haze. It could just be like maybe heat damage or something. But I don't know. Do you see any reason not to give that a 3 out of 3 on appearance?
No. I mean, my main reason for keeping it a 3 is like
Hmm.
the head in this particular glass with this beer is just outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
And it just sticks around, and yeah, it's very effervescent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can smell the aroma coming out of the glass. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is a very nice looking beer.
All right. Well, now we get to the best metric of all, flavor. Let's dive in. Cheers.
Cheers.
Mm. Yeah, I haven't had this in almost 5 years. But I kind of forget how good it is. There's a lot going on here. Fruity. It's like fruity, peppery. Actually, that's kind of it. It's like it's fruity and peppery.
I kind of
But
get like a lingering, a little like lingering pear. Some of that higher alcohols kind of come through. Some of that floral kind of character kind of lingers around.
yeah, it's a real spicy hop. Almost like a German Pilsner or something like that. Almost like rye or peppercorn. Although the yeast probably accounts for some of that spicy, peppery character as well.
Yeah,
It
I
does
mean,
strike me as being very dry, not bone dry, but dry.
yeah, very dry. You kind of wonder with the Belgians, they might be sneaking in some kind of adjunct that we're unaware
Mhm.
of, but I think this is adjunct free,
Well,
and that there's.
unless you count sugar, but
Oh, okay. In terms of adding in a coriander or something like that, because you get those notes to it, but
yeah.
it's not over the top like a wit
Mhm.
beer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't consider coriander an adjunct, like a spice. Like adjunct
Yeah,
is
I
like
guess a spice.
sugar, rice, corn,
Right.
sorghum.
Yeah, the one thing that was pointed out to me many years ago, and maybe this is why this isn't necessarily my favorite beer, is there is a bit of a star anise kind of note
Mhm.
to it
I get,
that I kind of don't really like, and
mm,
and sometimes I get little hints of like a bubblegum note, which I'm not a huge fan of as well.
mm. Yeah, I tend to get bubblegum more on German wheat beers, not so much on this. This strikes me as being kind of like green pear, maybe a little green grape, but it's like these fruity flavors, but if all their natural sugar was, gone, it's like almost like a Brett beer without the Brett, because Brett like just eats like everything. So you have like no residual sugar on most wild beers. Whatever yeast strain they use on here, that's really interesting that it can be just so highly attenuative, you know. Although I love that Brett character, like the locker room pineapple kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a very dry beer that I think the sweetness is really coming from that 8.5% alcohol. It kind of drives the fruity esters, and I feel like I don't necessarily taste the alcohol, but I kind of feel it coating maybe the roof of my mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe you get a little slight warming sensation. So I think it's a very kind of light mouthfeel that gets ramped up by just the alcohol percentage that kind of puts it more in that medium body.
Mhm. And I get a little, like I said in the aroma, I said lemon peel, and I almost get like a little bit of like orange peel in here. It's not juicy at all. You know, this is not a hazy IPA.
Yeah.
This is, it's kind of hard to explain to somebody that like we need taste-o-vision and smell-o-vision, you know, because it's funny how some styles like they can have like if you were writing on paper like the adjectives that you're getting, they would overlap, you know, like say like American IPA and like a lot of Belgian beers, you would get like, you know, citrus or something, but the citrus in a Belgian is a lot different than the citrus in American IPA.
Yeah, to me it's like maybe more of a dried citrus character compared to a juicy citrus.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of apple pear notes are more like maybe they're a bit underripe and don't
Mm-hmm.
have that, you know, overripe big juiciness like you're describing. So maybe that's what notes I would put on the score sheet. Say maybe like underripe kind of fruit.
Would you just say you get banana on this?
I do get a little bit that like banana bubblegummy thing that you'd get from like a Hefeweizen. It's just very minor and it's very brief on my palate, but and even some sips I don't get it and some I do. It kind of comes and goes.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was gonna say I don't really get banana on here. I kind of get like maybe the essence, like maybe like not even like banana bread either, because like banana bread would be fairly sweet. But yeah, to me it's like it's almost like lemon peel, orange peel, like almost like dried pear. Like at the supermarket, you get like, you know, you get like dried fruits, you know, like in a trail mix or something, and then big peppercorn.
Yeah.
big effervescence too.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be burping after drinking this beer. But yeah, the peppercorn to me is where it kind of leans into that little bit of like star anise kind of note. Kind of, it's not as much as you maybe would get for some other beers, but just a bit of that note.
All right, so let's check the specs on flavor. Let me bring it up here. Flavor profile similar to aroma, same descriptors and intensities apply. See, they put that on like everything now. For esters, hops, malt, phenols, and alcohol. The pear-like esters, peppery alcohol, herbal hops, and soft malt flavors carry through the palate into the long, dry finish and aftertaste. I agree. Medium to high bitterness. You know, we didn't really mention that. I think like that peppercorn esteriness is like accounting for a lot of the bitterness, not so much like the hops. Well, I mean, it's very well attenuated too. So it's not like you have a lot of, you know, residual sugar that needs to get balanced out. Medium to high bitterness, accentuated by the dry finish and high carbonation. Yep. Last in the aftertaste. Absolutely. I don't know. It seems like the descriptors here are a little short. I think they should have went into more detail because they did this a lot in the 2021 where just like whatever the aroma said, same for flavor, and it's like then just rewrite it all, you know.
Yeah, you know what though, as I kind of took a break from drinking it for a little bit, I do get a lingering bitterness to it. I think if we had this in Belgium on draft, it would be a bit more intense. But I think we have relatively fresh bottles for what you can get in the States. And yeah, there is some bitterness there. It took me a while, especially with certain lambics. Like if you take like a Cantillon, you know, classic goose, it's actually a pretty bitter beer. And I think what your palate, once it gets used to all the funkiness and all those different flavors, you start to realize, actually, this is a pretty hoppy beer. It's hoppier than you think. It's not zero hops with zero bitterness. And I kind of feel like revisiting this beer that it actually might feel a bit more bitter than kind of how I remember it to be.
Yeah. You know what's funny?
Not at an IPA level, of course.
The specs, they didn't mention sweetness at all. And it's not like I get like sweetness. It's almost like slight candy kind of flavor, if that makes sense, where you can have like almost like the flavor of candy, but without the sugariness to it. And they didn't mention citrus either. I mean, they just say, although they say fruity, which, you know, I mean, that could be anything.
Yeah, I agree. There should be a citrus note somewhere in here. And like you said, yeah, that candy kind of sweetness. It's right before the end, right before it completely finishes. And And yeah, so I think they need to add some citrus. There's definitely citrus, and
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe that's because it's an older bottle, and some of those notes have faded because they're a bit more possibly coming from Saz hops. I've definitely gotten lemony character from Saz for sure.
Mhm. Yeah. What are you thinking as far as score? The style guidelines are basically written around this beer, so I mean, you could basically just give this a 50 and call it a day. um, but I mean, as it's written now, it doesn't seem, and like we're getting stuff that's not mentioned, and but otherwise, I mean, I'm thinking 18 at
Yep,
least.
that's what I had in my head. Yep.
Mhm. All right,
Yeah, like you
mouthfeel.
said, the style guidelines are built around it, so I mean, it's hard to knock it too much.
Yeah, mouthfeel. For a big beer, it's actually kind of light in body. I'd probably call it like what, medium.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I feel like it has a dryness, but there's also a sweetness to it, kind of, which I
Mhm.
think is that alcohol and kind of
Yeah.
leads to an overall medium mouthfeel.
Yeah, almost like I said, like the lemon or orange peel, but not juicy. I mean, so it's just like whenever you have a fruity flavor, you're just gonna. I mean, how can you have fruit without some kind of sweetness? Unless it's like dried, even dried fruit, still has some sugar in it somewhere. Um, as far as mouthfeel, yeah, I'd probably call it like. I mean, it's not like light like Bud Light. And it's certainly not like a big, huge like quad, even though it's 8.5. It's it's a pretty strong beer. Kind of reminds me of like an American IPA. Probably like medium body, and I would definitely say high carbonation, very high carbonation.
Yeah.
Finish is remarkably clean. Like no, I get no alcohol warmth on this. Do you?
Not really. No,
Yeah,
no. I get more of a bit of a lingering bitterness, if anything.
yeah. I would say. In fact, you almost get like a carbonic bite because like almost like you ever drink like seltzer.
Yep.
It's like they're like those things are so super highly carbonated. It's like it kind of like scrapes your tongue a little. That's
Yeah.
this is like seltzer kind of carbonation.
Yeah. Like it's got to be close to like 4 volumes of CO2 in this thing.
Mhm,
It's very high up there.
mhm. All right, let's see what the specs say for mouthfeel. Very highly carbonated. Yep, effervescent. That's pretty redundant. Can you be effervescent but not highly carbonated?
Yeah.
Light to medium body. Okay, that's interesting. They say light. I mean, it definitely strikes me as lighter, but I don't like when I think light, I think Bud Light, something like that. Lighter than the substantial gravity would suggest. Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Carbonation accentuates the perception of lightness. Smooth but noticeable alcohol warmth, not hot or solvency. Absolutely. That's pretty much.
Yes.
I hope people at home don't think we're cheating, but I mean, I'm not reading the specs before I say. So for as far as score for this, I'm gonna go the full 5 out of 5. What are you thinking?
Yeah. There's no reason to
hmm
to go otherwise on that one.
Yeah, overall impression. I mean, I could go 9 or 10. I'd probably go 10.
Yeah, I'm somewhere around 8 or 9, and like I said, that's just because that I mean, as good a beer as this is, and this is a very classic beer, I'm still not like a huge fan of it.
hmm
So there's some personal bias, I guess,
Yeah.
in there.
Well,
Um, but
when you're
when it comes to
judging
like,
though,
yeah,
you're supposed to
um,
you go by what the guidelines say,
but I
not.
mean, this being said, I bet if you get this, this is a 50 out of 50 if you get it on draft in Belgium. If you get it in the States, it's really going to depend on how old is it,
Yeah.
how well did it travel here, how's it been stored.
hmm
But yeah, overall with the bottle I picked up, very happy with it. Yeah, it's definitely upper 40s
hmm
easily
Yeah.
for sheet.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, I guess that about does it for the Belgian Golden Strong using Duvel as the example. All right. Well, I guess about wraps it up. So everybody, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Tuesday. All right. Bye.
Cheers.
Somebody brewed it, Chad just reviewed it.
Thanks for watching Chad's beer reviews.
Trust me, the next episode will be a lot better.